Hello there, and welcome to the 10th episode of English Podcast with Ashish Khanna, Series 2. Today I'm going to talk about Halloween. Now, if you think of Halloween, you probably think of scary carved pumpkins, all kinds of fancy dress, and children asking for sweets. And if you think of a country that celebrates Halloween, you probably think of the United States first. Americans and Canadians have adopted Halloween in a big way. But Halloween traditions actually come from 16th century Ireland, Scotland, and England. The tradition of Halloween on the 31st of October comes from the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. Samhain was the Celtic New Year, and they celebrated it on the 1st of November because that was the end of summer and harvest time and the beginning of winter. In other words, it was the end of life and the beginning of death. It was also the time for ghosts to return to earth for a day. People lit a big firework, wore special clothes and made of animal skin, and hoped to be safe from the ghosts and the winter. In AD 609, the Catholic Church put the Christian celebration of All Saints' Day on the 1st of November. In AD 1000, the Church added All Souls' Day, and on 2nd of November and All Hallows' Eve or Halloween moved to the 31st of November night. The Celts, who lived in Britain and Ireland long ago, hundreds of years before the birth of Jesus, carved faces into vegetables like turnips, potatoes, and squash to scare the ghosts and other spirits to make them go away. It was sometimes called a jack-o'-lantern because of an Irish story about a man named Jack. He played a trick on the devil and then had to walk the earth for all time as a punishment. Irish people who came to life in the United States in the 1800s found pumpkins much easier to carve than other types of squash, and the tradition became the one we see today. The Celts were afraid of the ghosts that came on Samhain. If they went outside after dark, they covered their faces with masks. They hoped any ghosts they would meet think that they were ghosts too and would leave them alone. In early America, the Native Americans and the first Europeans celebrated in the end of the harvest, but not Halloween. When Irish people arrived, the harvest festival started to look like Halloween, and it became popular across the country. In the late 19th century, people tried to make the Halloween look less about ghosts and religion and more about celebrating the season with a party for neighbors and family. That's why Americans today wear all kinds of Halloween costumes and not just scary things like witches and ghosts like in other countries. Trick-or-treat is another tradition that began in Europe. This time in England, when the church introduced All Souls' Day, rich people gave poor people soul cakes, a small cake made with spices and raisins. It replaced the Celtic tradition of leaving food outside houses for the ghosts. Going a-souling was popular in England for hundreds of years until about 1930s. The Americans kept the tradition, but today children knock on people's door and ask for sweets. Going trick-or-treating is popular that a quarter of all sweets of the year in the United States are sold for this one day. Halloween has become the United States' second biggest commercial festival after Christmas. But what about in the rest of the world? Halloween is also celebrated in other countries, but it's not as big as in the United States. Even in the countries where the traditions began, Mexico celebrates the Day of the Dead from the 30th of October to the 2nd of November. And some of its traditions, like giving gifts of sugar skulls, are starting to mix with Halloween. In this way, the celebration of Halloween continues to change as new traditions join the oldest of the Celtic ones. I hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast. Thank you for taking time out. Have a great day.